I think that you have to give yourself permission to stand in your truth and know that I am doing something unconventional, and that is okay. Not everybody's going to have a traditional motherhood journey. There is going to be bumps and bruises, and things are going to be different. And I have to sit in with that uncomfortableness of what this unconventional journey is so far.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Ride. You're on the mothership inside the Black Woman Magic Room with the greatest podcast on earth,
G-Po.
I am one of your co-hosts, Crystal Tennille Irby, mother of 4, and perimenopause is not my friend this week.
Oh, I am Thea Monnier, mother of 3, and I have nothing more to add to that.
It's been rough. It has been rough. And I just don't know. Listen,
just a shout out to anybody going through any form of current pause in the middle of this administration.
That's what
and that you haven't like burnt some shit to the ground is like, it's amazing.
Going through perimenopause on top of this administration is just,
that's a lot.
And the thing about perimenopause is it's like, well, is this a normal symptom? And people are like, I mean, it's different for everybody. I
did a focus group. I did a focus group
some
on
standards.
That. And that was like standard. It was like, it kind of make you feel like you can know people, but you kind of feel out there on your own.
I need some standards. And it's weird because, like you still have a period, but something else is going on. But also I feel like I thought I was at an age where I had, you go through your 20s, you go through your 30s, and you're like, okay, I'm a grown ass woman right now. I got some life under me. I got some girth to me now. You know what I'm saying? And then this shift hits.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm feeling a kind of way. It just has not been my friend this week. It's not been my friend. And I think there are some standards, but I don't think it's been studied enough because it happens to women. So
I think the best thing I think what I've seen, and we have Omi Sade would have to talk about it, but is like just being with other people or talking to other people who are also experiencing is the closest thing to like a standard. You know what I'm saying? So that like, yeah, that's probably that shit, bitch. I'm worried about the hormonal stuff in terms of my mood. I think I'm really worried about like
y'all.
Mood
just
swings.
For if y'all heard that groan, it was Riley.
It was not my tummy. Riley. It could be my tummy digestion, but it was actually Remy. It was Remy.
Not Riley.
Remy. It was Remy. Okay.
And Thea, the birds are back with Thea. They've been in the last couple of episodes.
They have been.
They've been back in the last
couple of episodes. That makes me really happy. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, Thea, the hormonal stuff in the mood shift is very... Listen, it's a dangerous time.
It's a dangerous... when I was doing that focus group, this woman said, I feel crazy. Like, I feel like I'm going to do crazy things. I want to do crazy things. She said her rage was was on another level.
So you all, I'm going to put it in the show notes in case anybody's going through it. Listen back to the episode with Omi Sade, Bernie Scott. And...
well, she's recently made some changes to their approach.
Yeah, she has. Mm-hmm. Yes. Her platform is Black Girl's Guide to Surviving Menopause.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a dangerous time because we're under this administration and you feel like anybody can get it. That's how you feel.
I was like, you
every
can be
day
talking
like
some
anybody
shit. You can be talking to some shit like, we should do something about this. We should. Like that.
Girl, that is the energy. Because you know what? You feel like, I don't have time for this bullshit. There is shit I got to do. And
I don't even know what's going on. I literally, I don't know.
No, here's the thing. I don't know what's going on either, Thea. But here's the thing.
Just their existence is enough to piss us off.
The existence is enough that I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is in the air.
It
is in the air.
I don't know everything that's going on. But even the little itty bit that I do know that's going on top of the perimenopause, on top of my life shit, is like, it's a lot.
My mom used to have like this industrial fan. And we used to clown about that fan. I mean, that shit, like, it could put out fires. It was that big. But then now as I get closer to that time period in my life, I'm like.
And my mom can't help me because my mom's like, well, that never happened to me.
Her mom is so fabulous. I got to see her over the weekend. It was Kristen's birthday.
So yeah. Saturday night sweat. I haven't had any more, but I had one and I was like, is this a night sweat? Is this a night sweat? Because, I sweat a lot generally.
I also want to say there's been this TikTok going around, and I know we got to move because we got things to do, but there's TikTok about where parents, like, they have these plates and they're face down, and you open it and one parent has a cookie and the child has 2 cookies and then one parent has no cookie, and they get sad, and then they try to see if the child will share. And these kids are like, oh, you got no cookie? And they're like, what should we do? And they're like, is there more cookies in there? And they're like, no. And like, this is all the cookies. They're like, and then the kid reaches and takes a bite of the cookie. I'm convinced all these are youngest children. Okay, based on my experience, I know. Based on my experience with you and them chocolates, we were sharing chocolates, and then we wasn't sharing chocolates. And
what does this have to do with perimenopause?
It has nothing. I just remembered I wanted to bring it up. I just remembered that I wanted to say it. So that's all. She got a little extra sprinkled in there. But I was like, the youngest children. That's what Kristen would have done. Youngest children don't share food. It's fact.
Thea is still bitter because we were on a trip.
I'm actually astonished. It was more like astonishment. We don't all think this way.
She brought C's candy from California. We were in Florida. She brought C's candy because she knew we were going to see each other. And she brought me, I love chocolate-covered almonds from C's candy. She brought me, I think you brought me like a pound.
I brought you your own pound of that, and then I brought something for us to share.
And then you didn't bring anything for yourself?
No.
Oh, mistake number 1.
Yeah.
But then she brought this new, it wasn't new, but I had tasted it before.
It's a California brittle.
It was California brittle for us to share. So
yeah.
we were at the place where we were staying, and some other people came over. And one of the people who came over, she dropped some tea. And I was really shocked about the tea. And I was like really upset about it, because I thought it was capitalist and anti-woman and anti-Black from someone who talks about how horrible all those things are, right? And so I was just so upset. And I went, and there were 2 more pieces of the chocolate lemon brittle lab.
Of the shared batch, not her solo batch.
Right.
Not her almonds.
And I was so upset that, I needed some comfort food, And so I ate that as my comfort food, right? Both pieces. So later that night, it's late, we're hungry, we're trying to get something to eat. We ordered chicken wings. The first order is canceled because we feel like the person who went to go pick up the DoorDash driver was not aggressive enough to get our food. So they canceled that order, and it's late and we're starving. So I'm like, we're going to go in again. We're going to order it again. So we ordered again. The chicken wings finally get there. We have some chicken wings. We have some fries. And it's just really savory. It's chicken wings and fries. So after we're done, after you eat that, you want you got to balance out your taste buds. So you need some sweet. So you need
some sweet.
Thea gets up and she's so excited.
I'm so excited.
So excited. She gets up. Her hair's in a ponytail. She's like bouncing. She's like, I know what. I got something for us. And she's like bouncing. She's walking to the kitchen fast, like bouncing. And I'm thinking like, what's she going to get? Because it ain't no more candy. So I wonder what she got. What does she have?
What else does she have?
It ain't no more candy. And she comes in there. She's like, where's the peanut brittle? And I was like, oh, I ate that.
Here's what kills me, y'all. It's 2 pieces. So here's my thing. Cool. Eat a piece. Cool. But my nigga, you didn't even think to be like, bitch, you want this last piece? It wasn't even a thought. It wasn't
a thought because in the moment, I was so upset about the tea that I needed some,
we're not doing that.
She said we were sharing.
Sharing means if there's 2 pieces, we each get one. I couldn't believe it.
I was so upset.
I was like, who does this? Who does this?
It didn't even cross my mind. It didn't even cross my mind.
So I just had to throw that out there. You could put that down if you want to put that on. In one of these categories we got going on here. You can put that there. But it was going to get dealt with today when I saw that TikTok.
It didn't even cross my mind. I just ate them. I was so upset. I was like, I need some comfort food. But I'm not a selfish person. I don't want people to think I'm a selfish person. I'm not a selfish person. I'm very generous.
Share food.
I don't share food.
That's one of the first things she was very clear with me about during my pregnancy.
But I don't think that's because I'm selfish. I don't think that's because I'm the youngest.
I said, you don't think it's because you're young?
No, I think there's some other stuff that I don't want to.
Okay, we don't have to talk
put
about
out in the public.
Let's get back on track.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do responsive reading?
Well, first we want to say Nikisha Killings is not with us this episode.
Right. They probably noticed that by now. We've already diverted from the...
She's not with us this episode. But hopefully she'll be back for our next episode. So she's not here. So we're going to move on to our response. Oh, what is this episode about? So this episode is about non-custodial parenting. Mm-hmm. Our guest for this episode is Erica Michelle Freeman, host of Sisters in Loss podcast, which is a podcast about pregnancy loss and infertility journeys with Black women, and she uses storytelling to lift some of the shame, and the stigma around that, and sort of the veil around that topic. But on today's episode, she is going to talk to us about her journey to non-custodial parenting. Her son, her 11-year-old son, Max, who has a disability, does not currently reside with her. So we're going to talk about non-custodial parenting and Black motherhood. Mm-hmm. So that's what this episode is about.
I really loved it.
Great episode. She's a phenomenal guest. If you're looking for a podcast guest, get Erica. She's a phenomenal guest. So do you want to pick a card? You want to get a number?
Let's try 8.
Let's try 8. Oh, man. I want to know, though, like people, I don't want to ask people if I was wrong. I don't want to do that. But I want to know.
Dead ass.
I want to know if people share food. Like, let me know if you share food.
That's a mixed bag. But the question was that this food was set aside as shared food. And you also had your own. So you know what that tells me? She ran out of her shit.
No, I was out of mine.
You was out of your almond bun.
I was out of mine.
Not the almond bun. You was out of your chocolate covered almonds.
I was.
And and then it was just like free reign. And I didn't imagine. I didn't imagine.
The tea was so upsetting. The tea was so upsetting to me that I needed something. And one wasn't going to do it. I think I ate one and then I was like, this isn't doing it. And I went back and got the last one. Okay. Card number 8. Okay, card number 8 is share your inspiration. Share your inspiration. I think this fits with what we're talking about today. Let's see here. 8. The number 8.
Oh, Batala. Infinity. It's a different type of completion, like karmic things coming back full circle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 8 is a great number.
Oh, that makes sense with sharing inspiration. Dear Mama, far too often we don't stop to recognize our own progress. This goes with today's episode. We tend to measure our progress by the road ahead as opposed to the road we've already traveled. Sharing what has inspired us, what tools we gained, what lessons we've learned is evidence of our progress and how we practice Sankofa. Give back. Share what you've learned. Each one teach one, and you will feel the full joy of your progress deeply and truly. This really goes with
I like that one.
What our episode is about, and because Erica shares so much of her journey, and it's really, really inspiring. And hopefully it makes us rethink some narratives and release some narratives around Black motherhood. Our mindfulness quote, word from the ancestors. This episode is, you want to fly, you got to give up the shit that weighs you down. And that is from Toni Morrison in Song of Solomon. Yeah. And I chose that for this episode because, again, I think when you all hear our conversation with Erica, you will hear some narratives that we need to release that are weighing us down, that are preventing us from going after things that we desire and from dreaming new dreams when it comes to Black motherhood. Okay, so we want to jump into our church announcements, praise reports, and prayer list requests. Do you want to go first?
I think my announcements are pretty similar. I'm still doing and have space available to do the joy coaching. I did have somebody reach out, I think, through the podcast, so that's exciting.
Okay. I saw somebody had clicked the link.
Yes, also we're doing some, I'm doing like joy consulting. And in addition to that, the new project I have with Akilah S. Richards is the Bringing Flowers project, bringingflowers.org, where we look at joy and grief and how they interplay and interlock with each other. We're looking at it as a multi-year project with different facets, so we're excited to roll that out to everyone and have them witness that process. So if you go to bringingflowers.org, you can learn more about that. There's an assessment you can take if you're a company, and there's an assessment you can take if you're an individual or a family, to know like where to begin and where to tap in with us with that work. And other than that, I just happy to have celebrated my Oya Odun, my Olokun Odun, my Iya and her family just were incredible. I feel like, the last couple of years have been tough. This year feels like I'm finally like unearthing the core of the things that have been holding me back. So I'm excited about this year coming.
Congratulations on your Otun.
Thank you. I know. And then my Oshun comes up with yours. So, we'll do that together.
Yes. That will be early summer that I'll be celebrating my first Odun early summer. Okay, so my announcements are really short and brief. I only have one announcement. Black Mama Creative Week is June 24th through June 30th. Now, make sure that you are signed up for our email list, because there are two things for sure that I know we're going to be doing, but I don't know the dates around them leading up to Black Mama Creative Week. We're going to be doing a 21-day meditation that focuses on abundance and exploring abundance and creativity and how those two things are related and tied together. And we're also going to be reading Handful of Earth, Handful of Sky, but I haven't mapped out the dates yet. So make sure you're signed up for our email list so that you can get signed up for those things. We're going to be in Houston, and some people have contacted me and reached out to me about doing things with us in Houston, but those things haven't been mapped out yet either. We're going to be in Houston that last weekend. And Thea, why are we going to be in Houston?
Because we are going to the second show for the Beyonce concert. That is why.
For the Cowboy Carter concert. We going to the Chitlin Circuit show.
I know. And I gotta get ready because my first one is May in Cali.
Yeah, and we also need to get some housing in Houston. We need to get on that. We're able to go because Thea is the captain of our Beehive squad over here, and she knows a thing or two about getting Beyonce tickets.
Staying calm, staying calm, staying focused. You know what I'm saying? Being realistic. That's what I do.
Those tickets. So if you are in Houston and you're listening,
I can't wait to see you.
Shout out to us. But we'll be there the last couple of days of Black Mama Creative Week. So we're still mapping those things out. So y'all know this podcast only comes out twice a month. So the best place to keep up with us is in the newsletter.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's it. If you're looking at us on YouTube, hey, y'all, we're up to as of the recording of this podcast, we have 198 YouTube subscribers. And I'm very proud of that because I remember we had 30. And a year ago, I think.
That's really big.
Yeah, and we just really started posting on YouTube. And so it's climbing consistently. So if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe. Don't just look at us. Make sure that you're subscribed and share this episode with at least one person who you feel can benefit from it. Comment, talk back to us, and hit the like button. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button. That helps more people find out about us. So that's all that I have. Anything else?
Yes.
Anybody we need to put on the prayer list? Any praise reports? Praise report, we're going to the Beyonce concert.
That's right.
I
think we
think
good.
that's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
We good.
Yeah, as always, I want to put Black birthing people on the prayer list. Keep them in your prayers. So that's it. So we're going to roll into this mac and cheese. All right, so we're back with our mac and cheese, and we're going to start our mac and cheese like we do when we have a guest, which is one of our favorite things to do on the show, is read the bio of our guest, because we like for Black women to hear what they've done while they're here, so they can be like, oh, girl, I didn't know I was doing it like that. And it's like, yeah, girl, you're doing it like that. So we love to read bios. Our guest today is Erica M. Freeman. I love your last name, by the way, Freeman. I love your last name. Erica M. Freeman is the founder and CEO of Sisters in Loss, a maternal child health company that helps Black women replace silence with storytelling around pregnancy, infant loss, and infertility. She is a savvy creative engineer known for a results-based, no-fluff approach in her work as a podcaster, grief educator, and motivational speaker. Sisters in Loss provides pregnancy, birth, postpartum, bereavement doula, and grief services to help women step beyond anxiety and fear and into trust and peace after loss. Its self-titled award-winning podcast spotlights resilient Black mothers who share intimate details of their journeys to motherhood through painful but inspirational loss and infertility stories. Sisters in Loss has been featured in Forbes, BBC News, Black Enterprise, Women's Health, The Today Show, NBC Nightly News, and the White House. Erica is a member of the Mama's Voices Council of the Pre-Eclampsia Foundation and partner with Black Mama Matters Alliance. She is a certified full-spectrum doula, birth worker, educator, and mentor, and mom to 2 babies in heaven and 1 rainbow baby, Maxwell, also known as Super Mighty Max. Erica is an alumni of Bastyr University with an MA in maternal child health systems and an alumni of Virginia Commonwealth University with a BS in chemical engineering. I didn't know that you could get a master's in maternal health, child health systems. Is that new, or has that been around for a while?
No, it's been around probably the last 14, 15 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They actually have a midwifery a master's program at Bastyr that's centered in social justice and reproductive justice. And then as a result of that, they spun off and did something more specific on really how do we dismantle this system. It's a 1-year master's that really focuses on maternal health principles and really how can we really literally work not only within the system, outside the system, and really dismantle all of our health systems around maternal health. So yes, thesis, you're writing a thesis, you're doing all the things. But really making sure that we are making sure we have equitable healthcare for all of Black and brown people, but obviously that's going to help everybody.
I wonder if that's if anyone else has that. That's exciting. And they may have it, but they may not have it like that.
They may have it, but they may not be social justice focused, right? I think that's the reason why I picked Bastyr for a master's program, or even doing something not traditional like a formal MPH, because a lot of these other systems aren't going to teach the stuff that I want to learn and hear about and really center our experiences. I hope that other organizations really pick up on centering reproductive and social justice in their work. But, how our as we are right now in this administration, we're moving so far from it.
We're just trying to
We trying to
stay
survive.
alive. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Right. We just trying to survive. But I think that there are other organizations. I'm even considering getting a PhD at this point in health equity.
Really?
And
okay.
I am. It's something that's been on my heart.
Okay.
So there are a lot of HBCUs that are really focused on it. So it's something that I'm considering, even looking at that versus going to another white institution to do a PhD, because I want to make sure our voices are centered as well. So
okay, you give me.
But yeah, I've been this last year. I've been a associate professor with something I didn't add to my bio. I've been associate professor at Bastyr. So it's been fun to go back and teach midwifery students and maternal child health students on advocacy and grief and loss. So it's been fun.
So Erica is here. Like we said, she's the host of Sisters in Loss podcast. If you haven't listened, which if you listen to us, I'm sure you've listened to Sisters in Loss podcast. But if you haven't, make sure that you listen to it. But today we're here to talk to her about something. Have you ever talked about this before?
In bits and pieces. So
okay.
Yes, I have not really shared publicly about, I may have, but not in detail about my own motherhood journey, at least this last year and a half, for sure.
Okay.
No.
So Erica is here today. We're going to talk about non-custodial parenting and Black motherhood. Erica, you are such a force in the Black maternal health movement. And I think that often the work that you do centers around loss, of course, and a significant part of the Black maternal health movement is about the Black maternal health rate and saving lives and trauma. And so often we hear a lot of those stories, and we hear about the birth, or we hear about the death, or we hear about the trauma, and that's the end of the story. And it's really important to me that for the sake of history, we tell the story beyond that. And for the sake of culture shifting, that we tell the story beyond that, because there is a story beyond that. Also because we don't talk about like, we don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about, Black motherhood and non-custodial parenting. In fact, doing research for this episode, I only could find 2 articles about Black motherhood and non-custodial parenting. And it was really difficult to find articles about motherhood and non-custodial parenting. I found more written by white women about, their journey in podcast episodes. But it was really, really, really hard to sort of find things to pull from and put in our syllabus for this episode, which made me feel like, oh, this is definitely something that we need to talk about. So we're going to start with our signature question. And I'm really interested in this, especially when I read you were a chemical engineering major. I can't wait to hear the answer to this. So where were you 10 years ago? And did you think you'd be where you are right now?
10 years ago, I was a year into motherhood.
10 years ago was, 2015? 2015, Barack Obama was still president, just to give you a little bit of... Barack Obama
was still president.
Perspective.
My son just got diagnosed with cerebral palsy, spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy, meaning that his body's very stiff and it affects all 4 limbs, so his whole body. It's probably the more severe form of cerebral palsy. And I had no idea what life would be like with a child with a disability, especially after receiving a formal diagnosis. So now, 10 years later, my son will be 11 this year. We made it. We made it 10 years by the graces of God. So, but no, I did not think that I would go through the journey of obviously starting a podcast, because I started a podcast a couple years later. I went through divorce. I moved, 4 hours from home, from where I was living at the time in 2015. And now I'm on the other side of motherhood, where my son is in custody with his dad primarily, and I am the non-custodial parent. So no, I did not think all of that would transpire within this 10-year period. But I'm grateful for the journey, because I don't know if if I didn't receive that diagnosis and we were still trying to figure out like how to manage all these medical challenges with my son without a formal diagnosis, it would be more difficult even today, facing what we're facing with this new administration and them trying to cut a lot of the things that are needed for my son, like Medicaid. You know, a lot of his care is received through Medicaid and through that insurance practices, let alone, you know, the dismantling of the Department of Education, which really focuses on kids with special needs, like my son.
Why Jimmy Carter started it.
100%. So I think that I needed this journey, and I think I needed rest. Let's be real. Parenting is already hard. Parenting is already challenging in of itself in this new world and society that we're living in. But it's even more challenging parenting a child with a disability and trying to navigate the system, because you're put against a lot of unwanted pressures from a financial perspective, you know, the emotional and mental health perspective, to the physical challenges of caring for a child as they grow. So that was a part of the decision when we talked about obviously separating and divorce, what that would look like challenging for both of us as we both aged and as he got older and grew bigger, because he relies on 24/7 care. Even with the help of nurses and other in-home health people, it's still a lot of weight on both parents, right? Individually or collectively, to care for a child as they grow. So we made that decision way before we got divorced that we would do this. So I did 3 years with him post-divorce. And then now we've been about a year and a half into my ex-husband having my son full time. And then I'm the weekend parent. And I think, man, you talked a little bit about this, about the challenges of taking away or taking off that Superwoman cape, which is what we should have all done after November 5th, right?
Yeah.
But also recognizing that it is okay, that my child is going to be fine, and that this mommy guilt or mental strain and pressure that we put on moms to always have their children needs to be released. And I needed to create not only having boundaries within myself, but also boundaries around my friends and family who were judging me because of the decision that I made. They knew the challenges of what it took to raise a child with a disability, but they really didn't recognize how much mental strain that is of having people in and out your house all the time, the physicality of caring for a child as they're growing, and sometimes you just want a rest and a break from that work. So I had to let some people go, put more boundaries up, and then give myself grace, because this was my time to pour into me, which I had never had. We don't do that as moms, let alone never actually having the time dedicated, you know, for a period of time. So this will be 3 years of time that I'll have without my son on a day-to-day basis that I can pour into myself. And then I had to really wrestle with, what does that look like? Like, am I dreaming a new dream of what that looks like for me? Am I able to just sit still? Because, you know, I just talked about going to get a PhD, right? Like,
you did.
You know how we are. It's like,
did you put a pin in that?
Did
you put a pin in that? You put a pin in that?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you, Thea. The last thing Thea would do is like,
go back to school,
or just anything related to work at all. Anything where I had to do some shit, I'd be like,
child. So that's where it's been hard for me, because it's like, all right, well, I have all of this extra time.
Yeah.
What do I do with this extra time? And why have I never taken this time out on this entire motherhood journey over these like you said, looking back 10 years to actually just breathe and just say, you can be still, sis. Like, you don't have to go out and chase the next thing or look for what next success is. This is success where you are right now.
This is success.
So you've already done enough. Right?
So Thea took a deep breath. Thea was like,
I did. Yeah, I did. I've had like taste of what you're talking about. Like when I first, me and the girl's dad first separated. Remember, Crystal, it was a week on and a week off. And even just being a week on and a week off was a big adjustment. And I remember being in that place and it being empty and not having to be on all the time and being like, it took me a while to figure out. But let me tell you, once you do start figuring out what you want to do with that space, then the problem is, how do I go back? Then it's like, how do I reverse that? And the other thing it made me think about was the first time I went on an international trip without my children. And I remember watching, the little monitor, and you can see the plane getting further and further from your city, and it's like going over the ocean. I was going past like countries you've never been in, and it's like, oh, bitch, I'm far. Like, and then you think irrational. You think thoughts. What if something happens and I can't get there? What if it's an emergency? And those are the moments you have to say to yourself, the way I love every day is enough. And if something were to happen, which could happen if I was there, which could happen if I was around the corner, the most important thing is I know that they would know that I love them, that it wouldn't be measured by, was I there in this exact moment when something, no, it was measured by the totality of how I showed up and the continuity and the love and the consistency. And those were big anxiety breakthrough moments that weren't, like you were saying, easy to come into. And I'm a little curious, like, it's a 3-year rotation? Is it like at the end of this, do you have another year? How much more time you got is what I'm trying to what can we do with these 18 months? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like...
Exactly.
Hey, what is that?
Essentially, it is us rotating every 3 years.
Okay.
And
I just needed to know for my own...
We said we would reevaluate, because when he's 18, obviously that's different, right?
Yeah.
At that point, we would have to do a whole nother thing for Medicaid and someone to actually be, have custody over him in that regard. So yeah, we're going to switch back and forth until he gets 18. And then at that point, we'll decide what we want to do. But, this is pending my son's health. It stays on the up and up. I have always gone back and forth, not only with my ex-husband about, if his health starts to decline and we can't physically care for him, to putting him in a home and being understanding of what that looks like and recognizing that, at some point in his journey, we may not be able to care for him in our home individually. And
neither one of you may be custodial parents at some point in this journey.
And then we would be open to putting him in a home. So yes, I'm open to what that looks like up until that point. And it's gonna get to that point at some time where physically he's gonna be too big for me to do anything for him without the help of a nurse, or his health may decline, and then that's when we would make the decision on the next step. So I think I'm very much so a planner in that. This is all documented because I just don't know. Like you said, if something could happen to me,
but
I want to make sure
this is I'm glad y'all have this really nice arrangement, but I do believe in getting things in writing because
yes, absolutely. Things shift so often that I mean, even now, I could bring up a couple different incidents that things have shifted in some of the care that he's received, that I have come in and I have wanted to come in and have that takeover spirit again and be like, let me take my baby back. Because what y'all doing over there ain't good, Yeah. And I had to really, really sit with myself, but also with my therapist and be like, sis, when is my trigger going to be to say, hey, no, I want my son back based on the care that he's receiving, versus me saying, okay, let me continue to affirm that he's getting the right care that he deserves and needs, and that he does have nurses who genuinely are compassionate and empathetic towards him outside of the care he may be receiving from his dad. It's a journey, because it's a wrestling too, that you go back and forth of, do I continue to live in this guilt and this shame and this anxiety of what it feels like to be the non-custodial parent? Or do I embrace that journey and say, girl, live your life,
Mm-hmm.
find things that bring you joy,
Mm-hmm.
Go do something with your hands and get
Mm-hmm.
busy. Watch
Mm-hmm.
something grow. Center yourself and not feel and be still. Because that was really what I did this last year. Obviously, this year I'm doing a little more. I'm thinking about other things. But the first year I just sat still because otherwise I would have rushed into.
You felt like you sat still that first year?
I did.
Because I felt like looking at your Instagram was like, where in the world is Erica? Where in the world is
I'm
Erica?
I'm talking about sitting still from business stuff, from
projects.
Got you.
From,
chasing after this next thing. No, Erica was not here. I was traveling all last year.
Y'all.
I did.
I believe in that. I had to get a PhD in that. That's what I would do.
That's what I get a PhD in.
I get a PhD in world traveling.
I poured into traveling and maximizing moments where I could be out of the country. And I felt like that's what rejuvenated me in general, because I love to travel. I love to experience ultra cultures. I love food. It was just like, it's a no-brainer. Since I had the time, why not use that time in the best way as possible? I'm going to travel again the same this year.
Yeah. Rebooting
I had the time. So I think
I
those
love
are the
to
things you
see
should
it.
do.
Yeah, I love to see
those
it.
Are
I
the
was like,
things you should
Erica's
do.
here. And then I was like, oh, Erica's at the Usher concert. Oh, Erica's at the Usher concert again. Okay, Erica's at the Erica's at the Usher concert again. Like, I love to see it. And I didn't even it didn't even cross my mind about your motherhood journey. Do you know what I'm saying? I didn't know that you weren't the non-custodial parent, and I didn't assume that based on what I was saying. I mean, number one, social media is, what social media is.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I do think that there is an assumption that, like, well, if she's here and she's doing that, we're your kids. Like, before we got on, I was saying, whenever I go out of town, my family, not just friend, but my family is like, well, what are kids gonna be? And I'm like, they got a daddy. They got a daddy who been a parent longer than me. He had kids before we got together, right? But my mom would be like, oh, is he going to be able to handle it all? Oh, he works so hard. I guess I'm twiddling my thumbs all day. I'm not, but there is a lot of concern for the child if the mother is not present. And so when he goes out of town, I can be like, yeah, Rashad's going out of town.
Crickets.
Right. Ain't nobody concerned about how you are.
Ain't nobody like, what the kids gonna be? Are you gonna be able to handle it? Are you gonna be,
right? What do you need? Right.
Right. And so I think some of that guilt comes from sort of that narrative.
Oh, it's very external. Yeah.
Yeah, it's external.
Very
and that
external.
Mom always has to be
also
present.
Very cultural, y'all. Like, this is a cultural thing.
Yes.
The way that your mother says that to you, and it's inherent, it's subconscious. It just came out her mouth, right? Like, it's so culturally embedded in us that I always had to remind my mom and my grandmother and say, hey, y'all, like, Max is not with me today. I don't know how he is. And if you want to know what's going on with him, you could just call his dad. You don't have to go through me.
Call him daddy. Call him daddy.
You don't have to go through me.
Right.
You can easily call his dad, or let me give you the number to his nurse. Call his nurse. His nurse will let you know too.
I want to say, like,
it's so cultural.
Erica is giving us like this, like, wide, amazing lens on this. But we want y'all to notice how this happens in the micro. Like, my mom always talks about a time she got sick of us, dropped us off at the house with no explanation, and went and bought a lipstick. And sat in the car, put on that lipstick, and bought herself an ice cream cone. Said it was the best damn ice cream cone she's ever had in her life. Like, that's like a very small thing that she, like, for that to even be like a thing she had to, like,
that she had to do.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And it was just a motherfucking ice cream and one of them little Vanity Fair lipsticks, from the beauty spot. For that to be a thing that she had to do is insane. Like, that's really, like, and she so much that she tells the story that way. Like she tells the story like I didn't feel bad about it. I don't know why you should have felt bad about it. Anytime that a mother, and I would say also a wife, because sometimes when I would travel, I get the question, your husband let me try. What do you mean? What is
Right.
he? Who? Because also it's not even about like who's going to take care of the kids, who's going to take care of the husband too, is what people be thinking. Like who's going to take care of the man? How then are we supposed to not think that the world is on our shoulders when people act like it can't be on anybody else's, or like it was ever supposed to be on our shoulders? Like it was never intended. That was never supposed to be the case, right?
I mean,
but they make you feel like the world is going to fall apart,
make you feel
or you're doing
way.
something very high risk, like you're doing something risky or unsafe by taking time for yourself.
Oh, for sure.
You said that this is very cultural. It is, because just in thinking about this topic, I was thinking like it's very, I think, Black American specific.
Yes,
and
very
Western,
much so.
Because
yes.
I was thinking about one of our former guests, Stepha LaFawn, who's a fave, and she came on, and the first 11 years of her life, she lived in Haiti. Her dad and her mom were living in America. Her dad was in med school and they were married, and they were living in America. And she was in Haiti with her grandmother. And I think that that's not an abnormal Black immigrant story. And when she was going to come on the show, my question was, oh, you're away from your mom, you're away from your parents. Oh, what is the trauma behind that? And she was like, that's really not where my trauma or issue is, because that was sort of normal. I knew several
it was
people.
Normalized.
Right. I knew several people who had that experience. She was like, my trauma was coming to upstate New York from Haiti. And it ain't no Black people in my school. And then thinking about maybe having to put your son in a care facility and Black folks.
The one thing that they have said every time I even mention it to family members about it is like, oh, you don't have to do that. I'm like, you have not even walked a mile in my shoes.
How do you know
have
I don't have to do that?
idea of the things that I have to do. Right.
We will get dragged for putting our parents in a care. And I'm in the South. I mean, that will be the talk of the funeral.
100%.
Your journey, if it does come up against a lot of long-held cultural, narratives. And so for you, you talked a little bit about the guilt, but how did you, have you come out of it, and how did you process it? It's a sort of like an unknown journey, I guess. So I think you're in uncharted territory. That's what I'll say.
Oh, no.
So
how are you
I'm navigating that?
It is very much so uncharted territory, just because of the cultural guilt, like we just talked about, from friends, from family members, from society thinking that all children are best with moms, right? At any point in their life. But just like you proved, in, Caribbean, West African cultures, those kids live everywhere else, boarding school, other family members, and they're fine, right? They grew up fine. It is a healing journey. I think I had to grieve what that looks like, or I had to grieve in general what motherhood would look like for me. Max is my only son. He has a disability. I'm not going to parent other typical children that are mine, like physically mine, DNA mine. I can adopt children, those types of things. So I had to grieve that part of the journey. I knew that my child was going to be different, and I knew that this journey to motherhood will be different compared to friends. Once I went through the process of changing over to my ex-husband, which was a process. I didn't really talk about this, but when you're switching states for Medicaid services, it is an entire process. It took almost 2 years. So we had started this process like while we were going through our divorce to make that change from Virginia Medicaid to Maryland Medicaid. Like there's lists that you have to get on. They have to prove it that your child actually has a disability. They have to go through all these doctor's appointments and all these things. Like it's a whole thing to get to change over Medicaid from state to state. So when I knew that we were up I want
to pause you right there, because I really want people to maybe rewind that part, because I don't think people really know and understand the process of Medicaid. And there's even a lot of stigma around people who receive Medicaid services. And I don't understand that people really understand like the bureaucracy of receiving
there's so much bureaucracy
care.
for receiving that care.
That's an added layer.
It's such an added layer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that with my child who actually has a physical disability, and you physically can see him and look at him and know that he has a disability, that's a barrier in of itself. So so getting care for him, because nurses and doctors can actually see him and see that he has a disability, is different than those who may be autistic and on the spectrum who are also disabled. And it's more of a mental thing. And they look like perfectly healthy kids, but doctors and nurses can't see it on that child until they do some formalized assessment. So the barriers to getting insurance, or the barriers to Medicaid, vastly differs from state to state. And every state's different on how much they're going to cover based on, the emotional health disability or the physical disability. So luckily, we were moving from Virginia to Maryland, where Maryland actually, go Maryland, because Maryland got Black everybody. Y'all come on over here to Maryland.
Yeah.
Come on over here to Maryland.
May I add blue state to blue state? I just
Blue
want
state.
to point that out.
Since he has a physical disability, we were able to get more services offered in Maryland compared to Virginia. So it was like a no-brainer to make that change. It just took forever because we had to go through every doctor, every special services that he receives to check the box to say he is physically disabled. So think about all of those kids out there who are on the spectrum or undiagnosed. They may not even be able to get the basic services of Medicaid or insurance to basically cover any type of in-home care. Every year, they reevaluate Medicaid services and what the insurance covers for every person who is on Medicaid. And a lot of people get dropped off from Medicaid based on where they are, whether they have a physical disability or emotional or health disability. And many times, our kids who are on the spectrum are dismissed off of Medicaid because they don't have that physical disability. They only have that emotional or health disability. It's very critical in these times, especially, as we record this podcast, where a lot of these things were voted on to be removed from the federal government and given control to the states. Red states that are ran by red, Republican, they may end up slicing more of that Medicaid budget, where kids like my son won't get any services.
So
or it's minimal services.
Let's say you did want to have this co-parenting arrangement, but the parents lived in different states. This could actually be a barrier to
it was. It was
to
a
doing
barrier
that,
because we were living in different states. I actually just moved to Maryland. It's been almost a year. I moved to Maryland just so I could also receive the same services as my ex-husband. And we could share services through Maryland Medicaid because they offer so much more services for my son.
I want this to say it clear so that if you need to cut and paste this, Erica, for your own purposes, you can have it. How dare anybody question this woman's decisions at all? The audacity. The unmitigated gall. Let me I want you to be, Erica, I want you to have this. I don't want you to ever have to explain no shit ever again in your goddamn life. You hear me? I want you to just cut and paste this shit for the rest of your life. Play this. Hi, my name is Thea Monier. I'm here on behalf of Erica Freeman.
You're looking straight at the camera. Turn straight to the...
And I just want to say, how dare you fix your lips to question this woman's decision-making, particularly about her child. I think it's so frustrating. I'm listening to your journey. I'm listening to your story. And my heart is staying with you around the emotional and energetic tax that you have to pay to convince other people that you've thought about, considered, evaluated, analyzed, prayed, whatever else, to come to the place of peace and joy for yourself, for your family, and people who have done none of that. None of that, not a lick of that work and that labor and that consideration, or even shut their mouths long enough to pray internally. I don't need to hear you outside prayer. I need to hear what your inside prayer can, in a second, make someone doubt all of the work, all of the things that they just did. I need to speak to the support systems, to the families and the friends, because you are in a position in people's lives and mothers' lives to support them, to edify them, to make them feel powerful in their decision making. If you can't have enough self-control or discipline for a moment to think about your own fears and not put them onto or project them onto your own beliefs or your own whatever onto this person long enough to sit and consider, I know this person to be thoughtful. I know this person to be dedicated. I know this person to be educated. I know this person to be fierce. They would never make a decision of any sort lightly. That sometimes is what hurts. The people you've known a long time, it's like they don't take you. Not like you, not even your wellness or well-being. Let me talk about that. Your history, your record, your reputation, your character into consideration before they open their mouths. And that, to me, is not kind, it's not loving, and it's not fair. And so I just want people listening, to hold your support systems to that level of accountability, to make that the standard. But also, if you are a family member who is doing this to somebody, to consider that the position you have in their lives is important and should not be taken lightly, and things should not be said lightly or implied lightly or projected onto, especially my boo right here, Erica Freeman, okay?
And I think that is a part of the hurtful part, and the part that you have to grieve and release that guilt, because it's like, oh, I did all these things right. I made all these provisions, right? I thought about it, I planned about it, I prayed about it, I did all these things. And now I'm getting hit because this is a cultural thing of thinking like my child has to be with me 24/7, 365. And even if they go live with their dad for 3 years, I am the bad mom.
No.
Literally put up boundaries and release it and really work through it in therapy, because I'm like, am I a bad mom? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, no. And then give myself permission to actually find the things that bring me joy, the things that I can go deeper into creatively and within myself, to know that my mothering journey isn't just, caregiving and caring for and being the all to this one person, because essentially that is what my motherhood journey is, that I have the permission to mother myself and care for me and pour that information and that energy back into myself. And I'm still on that journey, because it's still very difficult, especially when I'm around friends or family with their kids, or if I show up to spaces and I don't have my son. Because right, like I have all this extra time. So most of the time that I'm going to family events or things, Max is not with me. I'm a person. I'm not just Max's mom, right? I can show up to family events and Max not be here with me, and that's okay. And you all got to get used to this. That Max is not going to be with me.
Or not. But if you don't, shut your mouth.
Yeah. So it's a journey. I think that you have to give yourself permission to stand in your truth and know that I am doing something unconventional, and that is okay. Not everybody's going to have a traditional motherhood journey. There is going to be bumps and bruises, and things are going to be different. And I have to sit in with that uncomfortableness of what this unconventional journey is so far.
But the benefit to that is also they are not traveling the world, and they are not even happy.
They're secretly jealous.
Yeah, facts.
I want
No
to say
facts.
it. I want to
No
put it out
facts.
there.
No
I want
facts.
to put it out there.
Facts, facts,
It's called
facts.
hating from outside the
Facts.
club.
The club. Facts.
It's called hating from outside the club. And to get in the club, it does take risk. It does take
It does.
it does take those bruises. You make sacrifices for that joy. But ultimately, you want to live a life well. And that means you have to think of yourself outside of just the roles. You have to think of yourself as something that is not, that can't be defined, that can't be contained, that can't be put in a conventional anything. You are that thing. And motherhood contributes to you knowing that about yourself.
100%.
But it is not the only way to know yourself.
Culturally, this is what we have been ingrained and taught.
That motherhood is a sacrifice.
All, it's a sacrifice.
And it's not. You got to nail yourself to the cross.
Exactly.
And if you're not willing to nail yourself to the cross, you are not a good mother. You have to be willing to give up everything. Only mothers, not fathers. Because if they just fix a sandwich,
only mothers.
If they just fix a sandwich, then they are.
The best thing since sliced bread.
He's a good man, Savannah.
He's a good man. He's a good man. I think about Boys in the Hood when Reba sat down Furious, and she was like, because Trey was living with Furious at the time, and he was like, you had your chance to be a mother, you missed that opportunity, and he was gonna like do this dramatic scene and walk out, and she was like, sit your ass down. Like, you're not special. You're not doing anything that Black women have not been doing for years, because I know plenty of children who don't live with their mother, but they live with their mother's mother, and their fathers are more than capable of taking care of them. And I'll be like, why don't they live with their dad? And people are like, I mean, they can't live with their dad.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And their dad is 100% capable.
Their dad is 100% capable.
100% capable.
And if he's not, because we're not 100% capable of doing everything, he can figure the shit out.
When me and my kids' dad broke up, my kids got a lot of hair. And you would have thought the man had no hands. Like he couldn't do nothing. He couldn't do anything related to that hair. He didn't know what to do. And I would not forget when we broke up and I went and picked him up from his apartment and they came out with their hair done. Now, was it what I would have done? Probably not. But was it done? Yes.
Was it
done? Here's the thing I learned. People will only do what they have to do, and you have to put them in positions. You have to put them in positions to do it. It won't look like what you would do, but it gets done and everybody's okay. And this is one thing I want to say. I think when you said about like the tension of wanting to jump in and take back over.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to leave the space for it to be fucked up for a minute.
100%.
We have to leave the space for them to
be
fail
okay with that.
And be okay.
And be okay with that.
Fail,
and know that that's a part of the journey.
Right. We can't, because it's trying to cook and somebody's over there like, oh, you gonna put that in there? Or I'm trying to cook. I'm trying to figure out my recipe. But they telling you their recipe. You got to leave space for the other thing to figure things out the way you figure things out.
That's the wrestling that you do. Yeah. It's like, should I leave my child over there?
Yeah.
Knowing what's going to happen. But no,
you have to learn to witness.
I've had to do that a lot, especially with like hospital visits. My son went to the hospital a lot during the pandemic, probably once a month. His first hospital visit with his dad was guilting me to come. And I said, oh no, I'm not. I'm not coming. You got this.
You got this. Ooh,
you got
that's some divine feminine work you're doing over there, bitch. I see you. I see you. You doing some deep divine feminine work over there.
But that's the only way I have to release that, because ultimately I don't want my mind ruminating on all of these things that I should be doing in this moment when he is a perfectly capable parent to do the same things. He knows all the details about my son just like I do.
I think that there's this myth that like mothers automatically know, right? Like people are like, your motherhood,
mother intuition,
mother intuition, your mother instincts will kick in. They did not kick in with my the first child that I gave birth to. And I think some of that, goes back to something that you said, Thea, about like decision making. And when you're doing something quote unquote unconventional, I don't like the word unconventional or non-traditional, because this is not unconventional or non-traditional. It's non-Western.
Right.
It's non-Western. That's the better word.
That's the better word. Yeah.
But it's not
that is such the better word.
And
that is the truth.
I wanted to have my child at home. I wanted to do all these things that my family pushed back on due to lack of knowledge and fear, not out of malice, but it was what they knew. And I think that happens when people want to have doulas, and parents are like, well, what is a doula? A midwife. They're going to come to your house. You're going to have this baby in a birth center, not a hospital. What if this happens? What if this happens? It's guilt, and the fear lays in, and I succumb to that. And so I think when my son was born, I didn't have any instincts, because all the instinctual things that I wanted to do, I was talked out of. And so I was no longer tapped into those instincts. So I think, to take it a step further with what you said, Thea, about the lack of support, when we don't look at someone's history and their decision making, and we put fear in them or guilt in them or hold them up to this cultural narrative, we don't realize we are disrupting their instincts. We are, we are, and it takes
colonizing them.
We're colonizing them.
We very much so are.
And it took me so much time to retrieve that, to tap back into that. So these decisions, they are parenting decisions, but they're doing some work on a deeper level that we could be disrupting when we're like, when we're holding them to a standard, a Western standard that we didn't even create, instead of getting curious, instead of guilting them, instead of getting curious and said, well, what does that look like? What kind of support do you need in this journey?
Or asking, or even asking, very much
being
so
curious
asking
with
that
you.
Questions. Yes. Because I think that's the biggest part of my journey too. It's like, all right, well, how many people in my circle have really come to me and asked me why I'd made this decision,
to be
instead
curious
of jumping
with you.
to the conclusion of,
that's right, it's
she
the wrong
shouldn't
decision.
have made that
That's
decision.
right.
Why did you make the decision?
Because I needed a break. It was very much so of, I know this pandemic was hard enough. We were in the hospital. I was doing it by myself. I was going through divorce. I was doing a lot of things all at once. And
you were going through a divorce during the pandemic?
Yes, ma'am. All of this happened at the same time. So I needed time to not only pour back into myself, but mentally be able to rest from the day-to-day hustle of caring for a child with a disability. So I knew that I was going to need a break at some point in time. It just so happened to happen at the right time, where my son was going through a lot of medical challenges, and we were in a hospital for 3 and 4 weeks at a time. Like, I just needed a physical and mental break. And luckily, he's been extremely healthy this last year, because I don't know mentally if I would have been able to cut that off and be like, all right, he's good with his dad. I still think I would have had that takeover spirit again, and came back to, and not having the ability to have that mental rest to really grieve that entire 4 or 5 years of parenting and going through a divorce, and really being able to pour back into myself. The other part of that is asking for help, right?
Yeah.
So during that time frame, because it was the pandemic, I did not ask for help. So I took on a lot more responsibility when it came to caring for my son than I should have. And I know now I'm equipped to what that looks like, and exactly how much help I need when I do get him back full time, so that I won't go back into that burnout.
You can go back into a new plan and a new with this new data. See, this is so good.
But I needed this time to do that. If I would have kept going, like, they would have been like, Erica, what is going on with you, right? And I think that this is me saying, hey, I know something shifted in my life. I've had a lot of transition happen in a short period of time,
That's right.
I need some time to myself to really mentally go through this. And I'm saying all this because this is a privilege. I'm not saying that this is not a privilege to do so, but it is. But it doesn't just have to be for a child with a disability. This could be for any typical child where both parents are both capable. And if you aren't doing 50-50 custody, as Thea was talking about, where you can take a time period and send your child to be with the other parent so that you can pour back into yourself, so that you can get mentally well and more centered and more grounded, so that you know what this parenthood journey could look like for you on the other side. I love the way that you put it, Thea, is that, we need to challenge what those narratives are and be curious and ask why. Because I don't know if people ask me why.
Nobody thinks to do that.
Why, or it's the reason why I have not even really shared about this even on my own podcast.
Go ahead. Two things that what you said bring up for me. One is that the importance of data collection and what I call good data. You only knew the data of this very intense, very immersed parenting experience where you had the day-to-day responsibilities through all these difficult things. You needed to reset to get new data. If you're going to be caring for your child in the long run, this period of time to yourself is like recalibrating so that you begin to ask new questions. You begin to get curious, and you can build a new model with this new good data that you're collecting. So like when you just said that, you were like, and when he comes back to me full time, I will have a completely different setup. But I couldn't have known that without this time period to recalibrate and collect new data, because collecting the same data over and over again is going to give you the same results, and that's not sustainable.
Result.
The other thing, though, I would tell you, my version of this in some ways, not only was that with my kid's dad, but also when I started to travel for longer and longer periods. I wanted to be gone for long periods of time, and I felt so much guilt about it. But when I did, I learned the world didn't fall apart, which is a very important thing for us to learn. It sounds small, but you need to do things that prove to you that the world doesn't fall apart without your presence. You have to do that. Or maybe it does, but everything's fine. But the piece of that really freed me was from coming back from one of those trips. I sat and thought, we chose to come into this relationship as mother-child this time. What's most important to me is not that I fulfill the social role of mother, but the spiritual one. What was our agreement? Why did you come in? Why did you choose me? Why did I choose you? Why did we come into this relationship? What did we want to fulfill? And am I fulfilling that? And I began to put that spiritual agreement ahead of the social one. I begin to say it's more important, ultimately, that I fulfill the spiritual agreement I made with this child. Let me tell y'all, it has nothing to do with cooking, cleaning, or caretaking. I was able to ask my children this, and again, depending on the disability, you may not be able to, but you can feel that out with your children in a million different ways. And one child said, I'm here to help you get comfortable with money. And I said, oh, you might be right about that, because you challenge me with that all the time. My other child was like, I'm here to, mother you. It was just interesting to hear and to explore that the things that they valued in me had nothing to do with caretaking. It was all about the ways we were uniquely enriching each other's lives. And we just happened to be mother and child in this iteration of it. And so for me, the work that you're doing to even have this 3 years, Erica, is prioritizing that agreement. Because your child came to make your life better too.
100%.
And is. Because of these choices that you get to make, right? I think what you're doing has so many layers that I hope I hope people can really, and you get to enjoy first and foremost, but that I hope other people can also take away, even if it's in smaller degrees.
I think that listening to your journey, I'm always thinking about the history of Black mothers, particularly in this country. And so, during enslavement, I think, the average time that someone was sold is, just being sold one time. We could just leave it there, right? Families been torn apart. And so I think we carry that trauma with us because this country has never really taken the time to heal from enslavement. And I think that that's a part of what we're holding on to, is that there was a time when we had no say-so or no choice in whether or not our children could be with us. And we know that we live under racist institutions and that we are unfairly judged as parenting, and a large amount of our children do end up in foster care. So there's so many negative reasons around being a non-custodial parent. It may be due to incarceration or something like that. There's so many negative reasons coupled with that history, I think, kind of doesn't give us the room or kind of prohibit us from leaning into the curiosity of, I have this dream, but it would take me away from my children. So instead of leaning into the curiosity of, but how could I work through that history and systemic and institutional racism just makes us tell ourselves no. So I think that during this time where this whole shit is burning down, I think everything is up for renegotiation.
And I think everything is always up for renegotiation.
Yes. Agreed.
We need to sort of interrogate, well, why? You know, the mantra of this podcast is motherhood is not the graveyard of dreams. So if you have a dream that's been buried and you feel that motherhood is the thing that's holding you back, I know that's why I started this podcast, is because I felt like my children were obstacles to my dreams. And I'm like, it shouldn't be that way. Your physical body expands in motherhood. There's no way that the rest of my being shouldn't expand as well. The God I know would not have it that way. And so I think we have to begin to look at it from a historical point of view of why we structure our households in a way that we feel this place cannot survive without me. And the unconscious weight that, like you said, Thea, that puts on our shoulders. And I don't know if we're conscious that we're even doing it, that we're even structuring our homes that way. But I think we have to begin to be more conscious of that. My husband has a PhD. You run over 2,000 employees. And y'all telling me this man can't figure out dinner and clothes and homework for 3 days? No.
Or a month.
Or a month.
Or whatever.
Or a month. Or
however long it takes.
However
and that restructuring you're talking about, Crystal, is about to be mandatory. So one, Erica, what you just said, I agree. It's always up for renegotiation. The moment I don't feel served, it's up for renegotiation. Everything is changeable. Everything is renegotiable all the time. And in this time, I do believe a rest period for Black women that we're in means a new Black woman leadership is coming. I feel that very strongly, which means those structures are going to have to be renegotiated.
I want to ask you, Erica, why did you all choose 3 years?
That's just what we decided on. It may be longer on one part or the other. No significant number to the 3, to be honest with you. The other part of it in the back of my mind when we made this decision too is that, I don't know if you know history of kids or people with cerebral palsy, is that typically their bodies start to decline between 16 and 21. So I knew when he got the diagnosis that, you know, I don't know how long I'm going to have with my son. So I want to make sure his dad has, you know, just as much time as I do, being able to, you know, be the custodial parent and do, you know, the day-to-day, the fun things with him, and see him every day, and not me feel selfish to want that all the time. Because that's the other part of it. It's like, I know my son, you know, they don't have a long life just because of just their health elements. So
how are you holding that as the non-custodial parent, though? I understand.
That's very hard. Yeah. That's very difficult in holding that, because it's almost anticipated grief. I don't know if you all talked about that a lot, especially for like people who have like cancer or some other diagnosis that is, we know the prognosis
Alzheimer's.
is coming. Yes, you know the prognosis is coming. It's a grieving process of what that is and what it is to come, knowing that lots of kids around Maxwell's age, I follow them and their parents on social media, and a lot of them have passed away over this last year or two. And it is a recognizing of, you know, I don't know if my child is going to be healthy for another year or two by the time he gets back to me. But grieving what motherhood and enjoying the moment, the present moment. I think the hard part of this is, or the part that goes back to what you're saying, is understanding that that my all and well-being, that this is just a role, right? Like I am not focused on just mothering and caregiving. I need to focus on Erica and dreaming a new dream outside of this. So I go back to that because ultimately my motherhood journey is still going to be there, even if he is gone and God has called him home, right? So I need to still figure out what that dream is, what that goal, what those goals are, and really center that around what it looks like as I think about and anticipate what grieving would look like if he's not physically here.
So what have you discovered over this period of time as the non-custodial parent? What's been your discoveries? Because you've talked a lot about what you had to grieve. What have you discovered?
Yes. I discovered that I don't know how to sit still. And I had to learn what stillness means to me and what am I okay with. I think that any transition that we go through, we always are looking for the next thing versus just sitting in that transition. So I had to be okay with being silent in some spaces. I had to be okay with just not doing nothing and just sitting on my couch. And I had to be okay with pouring into other things that brought me joy, like travel, like gardening. I have a garden outside that I started to grow into, and do other things to really center what that joy is as I was grieving, as I was on my own healing journey, and not feel like I had to jump into the next thing immediately because I have all this extra time. So obviously now I'm thinking about like, oh, should I go get this other degree or should I still be still? You know, it's not like I don't have a lot of things that are on my plate. I do, but
you do.
I think that is a Black woman stigma of it's a cultural thing too, of feeling like I have to chase the next thing because I have this extra bit of time versus saying I gotta sit still with myself. I have to understand where all of these emotions have come from and really work through them and really do the hard work. You know, sitting with them, journaling them, talking about it with other people, going to therapy. I recently started group therapy, which has been amazing. I think being in community with other Black women is a part of it. Like, is a part of your healing journey. And I think that has helped. And then also just asking for help. I think that's been the biggest thing that I've learned throughout all of this is like, I ask for help in my own ways, but I don't think I've always been very specific on exactly what I need, particularly from family and friends who do want to help out when it comes to Maxwell's care. So I always think that no one can do it, which is not true. It's not true at all. If I show somebody how to do it, I'm pretty sure they can do it all, outside of my mom and my sister. So I think that is what I have learned is like, girl, you can't do this all by yourself. You need help. You need community, and you need to continue to foster that so that when, as you mentioned before, this is new data. So when I do come back, when he does come back to me, that's already in place. And I still can go after the things that I am dreaming of, that I'm, the things that I have goals for, the things that I want to attain. And motherhood is not holding me back from doing all of those things.
What was the emotional journey of like the moment that it was like, okay, today's the day where he is going to live with his dad?
Oh, it was hard, y'all. Lots of tears, lots of cleansing tears. I think I probably cried going and cried on the way back. And then I really didn't know what to do with myself because a lot of my journey's been caregiving. So it's like, all right, so what do I do now? You know, and at the time, I thought like, oh yeah, you know, I'm single. I'm going to be out in the streets. Girl, I got in a whole relationship.
Chad, I don't want to talk. Crystal.
So I
can't turn it off. You can't turn it off.
So I wasn't outside, y'all.
You didn't get to be outside.
No.
No hot girl summer for you.
No hot girl summer. So I really had to sit with myself and be with myself and be alone. I think that's the other part that I don't think that we do enough as moms or as parents or in general is just to be by ourselves.
Not I said the fly. That's not me.
You do?
That's not my testimony.
Crystal likes to be alone. Crystal's an introvert.
I mean,
Crystal's an introvert.
So
you know, I've been friends with her forever, and you know, I didn't realize that. It took me a long time.
But it's forcing me to be one because
same. I'm not
here.
Yeah, same.
He's not here, so it's not, and it's not like Max is talking back to me, obviously, because he's not. But it's, you know, he's physically here, so it's like, okay, the presence is there. You know, the energy's there. He can feed off of me, right? But when he's not here, it's like, girl, you in here talking to yourself.
You ain't here about to get a PhD.
Right. And I had to learn to be comfortable with that. Because I don't know if people really know what that is. Like you got to be comfortable with just being by yourself and be okay with that. Like you're okay. I also moved from an apartment, which a high-rise apartment, you know, I saw people every day, to a house.
Oh,
well, it's just me.
Yeah.
So that was another transition too. It's like, oh, I'm in this house by myself. All right. So yeah, it was a roller coaster because I had to really, and then get, you know, when my son comes back, all right, now he's back here for the weekend. All right, so what am I doing with him? Do I feel like I have to be the weekend parent where
you got to get everything in? You got to get everything in. Yeah.
So no, I didn't even do that. I was just like, no, we're gonna do the things that we normally would do on the weekends even if he was with me. So like I never felt like I had to take on that role. I was like, I'm gonna still be mom regardless, whether you know he's there, he's here, and we're doing stuff or not, you know, we're still going to have a good time. So
I think that space that you've given yourself, Erica, allows you to see what things were performative. We don't like to think about motherhood as performative, but it's highly performative.
It's very much so.
We think, and then like that can sound, we'll judge it like, oh, that's us being fake or inauthentic. But no, that's what comes with the social role. It's performance. And I think this allows you to see like, you to engage in a more authentic form of motherhood where it's not performative and you're recognizing where those things were. And all that was is just like wasted space, really, where you could just have more intimacy, have more clarity, use that space more intentionally. So I think that's really good too. There's a lot of performance in motherhood. There's a ton of it. I was in my 20s when I had the girls. I was early 20s. And I remember the moment I realized I was engaging performative. And I would go to this caretaker's house because I was doing in-home social work. And her house was always clean. I mean, it was so clean. And these children were not big kids. These were like smaller children. And I was like, finally, one visit, I was like, ma'am, how are you doing this? Because I'm trying to like be the mom and do the things and da-da-da-da. And work, by the way, and working. And she was like, oh, I got a housekeeper. I was like, what? Here I am thinking you're like super mom. And she's like, oh no, here, let me give you her number. And then she didn't live far from me. She sent the woman around to my house and said, such and such sent me to clean your house because, and all that time, that's what I mean. Like, I thought this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm not supposed to show anybody that I don't know what I'm doing. And all the time I'm finding out these bitches got tips and tricks that I didn't even know existed. And that asking for help or that being vulnerable enough to finally be like, how are you doing this? Because I don't know what I'm doing, allowed for new clarity, new advice, it allowed for so much in. It chips away at this colonized idea of what motherhood should look like, Western way of what motherhood should look like, particularly Black mothers who had no choice in who they could mother at certain points in our journey. We had no choice. You made us mother your children. Like, that's crazy. Right? Like, so we have choice now on how we want to do this. We feel very honored that this is a sacred story and it's a beautiful story. And I already know it's going to do so much for so many people. And anybody got a problem, come see me. You know what I'm saying? Don't take it to Erica. Call me. She busy living her best life, but I got time.
I know this was an intentional choice for you, but even for non-custodial Black mothers who it's not an intentional choice, I hope that it does something for them to say that you're still a mother, even though your children don't live with you. Also get curious about the time that they're not with you. Don't feel the pressure of, I have to fight for them to get them back every second, every minute, every day of my life. But lean into that spaciousness, lean into that time and discovery so that when they do come back to you, you'll be even fuller. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you. So what do you have coming up? What do you have, on the radar?
Still just doing a lot of work, doulaing, and I got like 6 or 7 clients this year.
Oh, wow.
Another thing that I love about having extra time, I could actually, physically go out and do some doula work in person. So that's been fun. Still doing the podcast that has not gone away. This is year 8, which is crazy. And more events coming around the DC area. So just stay tuned to Sisters in Loss and our website and our Instagram page, and the social medias, YouTubes, we're everywhere.
I love that you don't have anything specific. And you don't have no specific dates. You're like, I'm around.
No. I'm around. I told you, I'm taking a break.
It. I know, and I love it. I love you. Like, I'm around. Come see me. Check out the podcast. I love it.
I'll pop up.
I'll pop up. Come see me. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I wish you more discovery.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish you more discovery. Thank you.
Wait for those downloads. We are coming. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is our Black Mama Say, which is our final segment of the episode. And in this final segment, we put our own twist on sayings from Black mamas. And this episode's Black Mama Say is, oh, you got time for that. As in, oh, you got time to do that, but you ain't got time to do this, but you can't do this. And it was inspired by Gavin Newsom's, I don't know how old the podcast. I mean, I guess it's still new podcast. When Thea brought it to our attention, she said, this isn't going to go over well with Black people.
Black people can't stand to see somebody doing something recreational.
Can't stand it.
We don't understand recreation unless it's a barbecue or a cookout.
Thea, not even recreational. We can't stand for people to have free time.
Yeah, fun, relax. So I said people were going to be like, oh, okay, you got time to write a podcast, but you ain't got time to run a state. Which is not actually true, but that's what they're going to say just because if they see anybody doing something remotely recreational or...
You ain't got time to get this reparations bill passed.
Right. But we still waiting on da-da-da-da-da-da. So, that's... I'm not saying it's not a fair critique, but I'm just saying that's how it's going to be worded.
That's how it's going to be worded.
That's how it's going to be worded.
Okay. All right. So, do you have one?
My stuff has been simple, and it's going to stay pretty simple throughout this presidency, which is that you got time to tell Black people what they should be doing with their time, specifically Black women, what they should be doing, what they should be coming out for. You got time for that, but you ain't got time to get your people together so that they can vote right for the next election. You ain't got time to educate your own. I don't understand. What you need to be doing is stretching for this march on April 5th. What you need to be doing is stretching for this march and haggling your people. I'm sorry that I like my people and that you don't like your people.
Wait, pause. What march is happening on?
Oh, yeah, they're doing, apparently there's like a march. They're trying to get 1 million people to march April 5th. And it is all these TikToks where Black people are like, oh, me getting up, hearing that there's a march, and then the answer is like, sit your ass down. And
Did you say 1 million people?
Like a Million Man March, you mean?
Girl, like the Million Woman March?
Like copy and paste. Control C, Control V.
You got time to plan a march, but you don't have time to come up with your own shit?
You got time to plan a march, but you ain't got time to talk to your people about how they voted.
You got time to plan a march, but you can't come up with a unique title for the march?
You got time to plan a march, but you ain't got time to take a look at these Black maternal health numbers. We can do this all day. You got time to plan a march? Or you got free time? Oh, I don't know nothing about that. We ain't got no free time over here. Black people don't know nothing about no free time.
So when this podcast episode is released, this march will already have happened. And where are people marching to?
I have no other details.
Completely out of
zero.
it.
All
Where
I know,
are people marching to,
and I know this non-consensually because I was just minding my business scrolling my TikTok. I did not seek this information. And apparently it's April 5th.
Yeah, this is interesting. I didn't know that a march was planned for April 5th.
Doesn't it feel good to not know?
Yeah.
I want y'all to know the only thing that's going to change our mind is numbers. Cold, hard
didn't even
numbers.
know.
I need to see the numbers and the data shifting. That's it. That's all I need. And unfortunately, you can't do that for me for like another 2 years. So
I don't even trust that. I don't even trust that anymore.
Let me tell you why. Numbers?
Because every time they get hyped up, they do these midterms and we do good at the midterms.
This is true.
And then things
4 years.
And
we got to see what happens in 4 years. You're right. You're right.
So
you're right.
No, it's not even 4 years because 2018 midterms turned things around.
8
then
years.
In 2020,
8 years.
We elected Biden.
It's 8 years. We got to see 8 years. You're right. You're so right, Crystal. This is good. 8 years is the minimum.
I got to see 8 years.
Damn.
But
that's a bid. That's what they call a bid.
8 years is a bid.
8 years is a bid.
8 years is a bid.
And we picked the 8 card. And we picked the 8 card. It's coming around. It's coming around. It's coming around. We see, Nikisha, we can do this shit. We got
the ancestors.
Remy's telling me to throw this. Sorry, Remy, that was a bad throw.
Look at the ancestors. But I was going to say something is really in the atmosphere because I was going to talk about white women. Y'all got time to be all over social media looking for Kamala Harris and asking
for Jill
where
Stein.
she is.
Y'all, here's what I don't understand. Can I lean in for a second? I know I got to lean in my head in.
You lean in. You got to lean in.
I don't understand why everybody's like, where are the Democrats? Where is, on the left? Where are the Democrats? Where is Kamala? Where's Jill Stein? Has anybody met Jill Stein in real life? Is this a real person? Is this a bot that just pops up every 3.5 years to collect a bag? And I'm not mad at the hustle, but I'm just wondering why you're not mad at your leader for being absent every time something that matters is on. But you say Democrats don't do anything, fair criticism, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. I would be mad at my own. Where is she? Does she even live in the United States in between those 3 years? Does she fly back in every 3.5 years to collect a bag from y'all? And y'all give her the same bag? And you wanted to trust your leadership? I don't understand. I have many questions. Oh, you got time for that? You got time to open your mouth about that, but you ain't got time to go find motherfucking Jill Stein and collect your bag back? I don't understand. You got time to critique this, but you ain't got time to find Jill Stein. Can we get a t-shirt made? Where's Jill Stein?
No, I like find Jill Stein.
We need a t-shirt.
I like find Jill Stein.
By the next time we record, I need a mug that says find Jill Stein. That's all I got to say. Find Jill Stein. Please, hashtag find Jill Stein. That's it. That's all I got. Because I don't understand. This is like this. Come on. Now, also, I'm torn because I love a good fucking hustle. You know what I'm saying? I love a game recognized game.
Game recognized game. I'm not mad at it.
But I'm like, damn, this bitch just ran this game how many times?
I'm not mad at it. Also, I think people are on the hunt for Kamala Harris, and people want Black women to step up because Reese Colbert of Reese with the Receipts. She said something when she was on the Clay Kane show on Urban View. She said, people are looking for Kamala Harris. People want Black women to step in, and people want Democrats to do something. But the reality of it is elections have consequences, and people are calling for that because they don't want to feel the consequences of this election.
That's right.
And no matter what Democrats do, it's going to feel like they're not doing anything because they don't have any power. The numbers are what the numbers are. They are outnumbered in the Senate by 6.
But also, you claim they don't do anything. So why I wouldn't go to somebody I claim do nothing and be like, why aren't you doing something when I believe that my expectation of you is nothing? I just don't understand. It's like some cognitive dissonance. They just want somebody to be mad at, and that's why they need to find Jill Stein.
You brought it back, friend.
That's your mama. That's your mama.
You brought it back.
That's your mama. Don't come to my mama's house. Don't come to my mama's house like, why you ain't cooking? My mama do cook for me. You go find your mama and ask her why she not cooking. Find Jill Stein.
That could be a song.
There's somebody out here
I need
who can make me a
rhythm,
T-shirt and a mug. And I would like that, please.
That could be a song. It's a song, but I can't figure out the rhythm right now.
It goes, find Jill Stein. Bum, 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 bum. Find Jill Stein. Bum, 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 bum. You got a problem? Find Jill Stein. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, that's a great T-shirt. That's a great T-shirt.
So, and it's also just accurate.
I think that's so interesting.
I just don't understand. It's like, I can't get over it. What am I missing here? Like, where is she?
Stuff like, okay, what am I missing here? Doesn't stuff like this make you think that you're crazy? Because you're like, wait, this does not make sense to me. But people are jumping on this. It like this. Y'all don't see that this is a grift.
I would never be like, you ain't shit. Fix this for me. If you ain't shit, how can you fix it for me?
Yeah,
that's a really weird thing to ask of somebody you think doesn't do shit. But you didn't ask your mama. Your girl is Jill Stein. Where's your girl? I'm confused. Find Jill Stein.
Find Jill Stein.
Find Jill Motherfucking Stein.
I'm going to add that as a hashtag to the when we release this episode.
Drag her out of whatever hole that bitch hides in for 3.5 years. I feel like, you remember like I Am Robot?
I'm sure she's on Instagram.
Like she only gets powered up every 3.5 years, and then they power her down after the election. Find her. Find Jill Stein. Until then, I don't know. I don't know if she's a bot or a human.
Follow us on Instagram at Dim Black Mamas at Dim Black Mamas Podcast. And if you don't want to miss a minute of the magic, sign up for our recently revamped newsletter, The Mothership, which includes reflections on the conversations we've been having and hearing. And we also share a collection plate cause where we'll spotlight causes and initiatives that resonate with our community.
And don't forget to find Jill Stein. And then check out our website at www.dimblackmamas.com. Dim Black Mamas is a conversation, so our inbox is always open. If you do find Jill Stein, let us know right away. Send us your thoughts about the show, show us some love, and ask some questions, such as, where is Jill Stein? Oh, Lord, I didn't print that part. At magic at dimblackmamas, is that right?
.com, yes.
.com. I've been right, so. At magic at dimblackmamas.com.
And be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Don't just watch us or listen to us. Rate and review us if you're on Apple Podcast. And like us if you're on YouTube. Like this episode, and also subscribe if you're on YouTube. And
I had no earrings this whole podcast episode.
I didn't
I'm
even
disgusted with
notice.
myself.
I'm so sorry. But you still look cute. You still look cute, though.
Girl. Thank you, Dave. I love your show.
You still look cute. And in closing, maintain.
Expect abundance.
Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.